I'm not ashamed.
What is the name of God revealed to Moses in Exodus 3:14? This is the question we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of Exodus on Walking the Bible.
The glory of his cross.
If you have a Bible with you, you can turn to Exodus chapter 3. We're going to be reading from verses 11 to 14. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Exodus chapter 3, beginning at verse 11. But Moses said to God, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and that I should bring the children of Israel out of Egypt?" So he said, "I will certainly be with you, and this shall be a sign to you that I have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve God on this mountain." Then Moses said to God, "Indeed, when I come to the children of Israel and say to them, 'The God of your fathers has sent me to you,' and they say to me, 'What is his name?' what shall I say to them?" And God said to Moses, "I am who I am." And he said, "Thus you shall say to the children of Israel, 'I am has sent me to you.'" In the last two episodes, we've been looking at God's appearance to Moses in the burning bush. This appearance occurred at Mount Horeb, also known as Mount Sinai, which is in the land of Midian, what we would call today Saudi Arabia. In the last episode, God gave his reason for appearing to Moses, which was that God had chosen Moses to stand before Pharaoh and secure the children of Israel's release and then lead them to the land of Canaan to conquer it. By this time, Moses had been away from Egypt for 40 years and had probably become quite accustomed to the lifestyle of his old age, Moses being 80 years old here. As a younger man, he saw himself as the one who would liberate Israel, but now that he's older, he doesn't view himself that way any longer. He tells God, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and then bring the children of Israel out of Egypt?" It's funny when we read of men and women arguing with God as if God doesn't know who they are before he talks with them. Purely from an earthly sense, Moses, though he had been adopted into it, was part of Pharaoh's household. Even though this Pharaoh may not have been the one that he fled from, he certainly would have known the woman who raised Moses, and thus, if Moses mentioned her name, Moses could be positively identified as being from Pharaoh's household. He was therefore able to stand before Pharaoh. But even if this wasn't true, God had selected Moses for this task, and God, being God, was certainly able to accomplish his will through Moses if Moses only would have had faith. But alas, at this point, Moses' faith was lacking, as is shown by his reluctance to follow after the word of the Lord. God replied to Moses that he would be with him, and that's how Moses would be able to stand before Pharaoh and lead this people. This shows us that Moses could not accomplish the Lord's will without the Lord being with him. Moses was a man, but he had no armies. Without God, he would not be able to lead the people out of Egypt, for this Pharaoh was not going to let this people go just because Moses asked. It was going to take 10 miraculous plagues by God to convince Pharaoh to do so, so without God's help, Moses wouldn't have succeeded. But with God on his side, Moses could do anything. God told Moses that the sign that he was sent by God would be that when the people come out of Egypt, they would come to this mountain, Mount Horeb, and serve God there. God was not going to lead them out of Egypt to die in the wilderness. They were not going to be slaughtered by the Egyptians, nor would they immediately go and conquer Canaan. They would first come to Mount Horeb and worship God there, for that would show Moses that what God was saying was true. Moses, however, still wasn't convinced. He asked God, "Well, when I come to the children of Israel and say to them that the God of their fathers had sent me, they're going to ask me what his name is. What shall I tell them?" Many of the children of Israel would not know Moses, for he didn't live among them. And those who might have remembered Moses from years past would know he grew up in Pharaoh's house. So what Moses is saying here is that the children of Israel wouldn't believe him when he said that he was sent by the God of their fathers, because they wouldn't believe that he knew their God. He would therefore need God's name as proof. God said to tell them his name was, "I am who I am." He was then to tell Israel that "I am" had sent him to them. These words express the eternal and unchanging nature of God. He has always been, he is now, and he always will be. This distinguishes him from the gods of the Egyptians, who had a beginning and would have an end if someone came along and replaced a set of gods with new gods. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob was the true, unchanging God, who Israel would recognize as the true God of this universe. The name of God here is quoted by Jesus in John 8:58, showing us once again that Jesus is deity. He is God. He claims such while on earth, and since God the Father confirmed Jesus' work while on earth and raised him from the dead, we know that, unlike what some want to believe, Jesus is God, for he ascribed the name of God unto himself. We'll continue with this story, the Lord willing, in the next episode of this series. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's question and answer edition, seeking to answer the question, is everybody going to heaven? The Lord willing, on Monday, we will return to our study of Exodus, covering Exodus 3:15 to 22, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time.
I'm not ashamed.
Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.
Of his cross.